Hey, it's your life coach dentist friends, Karen and Laura. Welcome back to the Mint Door podcast. Before we open the door to the podcast, we have an important message that could change your life.
We understand the challenges dental professionals face, from conflicts within your team to communication barriers, burnout, lack of energy, chronic stress, and feeling unfulfilled in your dental office. But it doesn't have to be this way anymore. We have got something special for you.
That's right. Introducing Refresh, a transformative program designed specifically for dental professionals like you. With our proven formula, you can break free from these challenges and unlock the fulfilling life you deserve.
Don't settle for a stagnant existence. Discover more about Refresh on our website, and the link is in the show notes, and embark on a personal and professional growth journey like no other. Start living your purpose today. So now, let's go on to our show. Are you a dental professional who feels like they are stuck in the same routine every day? Then this is your chance to learn something new. Join Dr. Howard Polansky as he talks about how to achieve financial success and satisfaction by becoming your own CFO. That's a cash flow optimizer.
Yeah, Dr. Polansky started his career as a dentist, first with the U.S. Navy, before transitioning into private practice in Austin, Texas. After transitioning away from dentistry following a life-changing event, Howard stumbled upon a strategy that allowed him to help someone pay off their 30-year mortgage in just 8 months.
Let Howard show you how to make more money by taking control of your finances and creating passive income by investing wisely. He shares today the strategy on how one becomes more efficient with their expenses so there's more money at the end of each month, ultimately helping passive investors find the money they need today.
So it's time to learn how to live out your dreams and become financially secure. Tune in to Talk It Out on the Mint. Well, Dr. Howard Polansky is with us today on the Mint Door podcast. Dr. Polansky, thank you so much for being with us. We cannot wait to get into this topic of cash flow optimization.
Well, Laura, Karen, thank you for the opportunity to chat with you guys and basically chat with your audience too.
Yeah. Your topic of cash flow optimization, there is so much potential in this topic. And as we sort of delve into this subject, can you share with us some of the strategies and maybe mindset shifts, that's a tongue twister, isn't it, that you have found most effective in helping individuals achieve financial freedom more quickly and sustainably?
Yeah, the biggest mindset shift, the biggest block when it comes to helping people is, but I have a mortgage at 3%. And I kind of view this in terms of the way that banks are magicians. They are showing you, here's the interest rate. But behind the scenes, with the other hand, you're not understanding really what's happening in terms of paying down debt. Because if you're asking what is the one shift that someone has to make in their mind for this to be as effective as possible, the interest rate is the minor factor. What matters more is the balance of the debt that the interest rate is applied to. And let's just go through a simple example. Let's say you go into a bank, you say, I'd like to get a loan. And they say, great, we have two products. One is an interest rate at 4%. One's an interest rate at 10%. Which one would you like? I promise this is not a trick question, but what would you choose?
I'd be tempted by the lower one. Would you, Laura?
Yes, as I said, this is not a trick question. The problem is you need two more pieces of information. Number one, you're going to take the loan out for a year. And number two, you're going to take a loan out of $100. And so at the end of a year, at the 4%, you would owe $104. On the 10%, you would owe $110. And if you sit there and think about it, you're like, who cares about $6? Even if it's $1,000, the 1040 versus 1100 is somewhat meaningless for at least the people who are listening to this. But if you get up to $100,000 or more, now all of a sudden that interest rate starts to mean something. And I just use that example for people to understand, again, it's really not the interest rate. It's how fast can we make the interest rate go from 100,000, or the balance, I apologize, the balance go from 100,000 to 10,000 to 1,000 to 100, so that the interest rate doesn't really matter in the long run. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's the biggest challenge that people have to get over. Once they get over that, the rest of this is like, oh my God, why didn't I know about this 10 years ago?
So why don't people know about this?
I'll ask you, Laura, why do you think people don't know about this?
Because no one talks about it. And there's money to be made on the other end.
Ding, ding, ding. That's the answer. What is the advantage of a bank to educate people on this? There is none. Because if you think about it, the interest to a bank, that's their income. Why would they try and educate people on something that is going to show them how to make less money? I mean, this happened with one of my clients. I'll just give the teaser now. I don't know if we'll go into the specifics. This is a dentist. He had $800,000 of practice debt. We paid off the debt in 7 months, freeing up $12,000 a month in payments for the next 7 years. So $144,000 freed up that he can now do whatever he wants with, that he doesn't even have to work for anymore. He introduces me to an old banker friend of his, and that person sitting with their associate. I go through the entire process, take 40 minutes to go through it. I'm like, you understand it? Yep. Go through the whole thing. At the end, dead silence on the phone. And I say, there is no way you can share this with your clients because you are going to bankrupt your bank. And he says, we can't share that with all of our clients. I mean, because he realized, oh my God, we would kill ourselves, literally bankrupt ourselves. So they can't do it.
That's very sad and interesting.
It's kind of shocking.
And shocking.
It's shocking. Like I sit there just going like, I think that's why me and you both sat there, Laura, looking. What?
But I mean, think about it. They are in the business of taking money from you at whatever savings rate, right? 0, 1, 2, even up to 5%, and turning around, lending it anywhere from 5 to 25%. I mean, that's what they do. It's literally arbitrage. You give us money, we'll pay you something for us holding it, and we turn around sometimes to the same person and now lend it back to you at a higher interest rate. And they make money on the arbitrage. So there's no incentive for them to try and help you pay this off sooner.
Mm-hmm.
Sad but true.
Mm-hmm. So when you talk about that case, about paying down that big debt in 7 months, certainly that financially was a relief, but there's also the component of carrying debt and how that affects someone's mindset. And so getting rid of that quicker is probably certainly emotionally and mentally healthy too. Do you see that your clients, not only benefit financially, but emotionally and mentally as well?
Yeah, it's a great question. The clients that like the service that I do, and really I am a guide in terms of showing them how to do this. They are, I'm going to say, more debt averse. And again, with you guys working with dentists and me being a dentist in my former life, debt unfortunately is part of the equation just because of how expensive dental school is, how expensive specializing is, how expensive college was to get to dental school, buying a practice, all the equipment. Debt is just there. And it's necessary because of the leverage to be able to start a business. So it's just part of the equation. But the idea of the guaranteed return, that if that debt is now gone, I now freed up that payment, that is the mental relief. It may not be mathematically the best return on investment, but going back to the peace of mind that you can't put a calculation on. And even though I am not the Dave Ramsey poster child, I am not the Susie Orman poster child, I remember something that Susie Orman said is that if you sleep better at night knowing that the debt is gone, then that's what you do. Mm-hmm. I just show people a faster way to get there.
Mm-hmm. It's tempting. It's so
yeah,
tempting.
I know this. I wish I would have known you when I had $800,000 in debt, because I would have liked to get rid of it faster.
Trust me, I wish I would have known me back then too. So,
Oh, so when you free that up, what role does this cash flow optimization play in the paradigm shift of this mindset? Like, how do you see that play out?
Yeah, it's a fantastic question, because it's like, all right, now the money's freed up, now what? I think that's really the essence of the question, which kind of leads into a segue of, press release, newsflash, I'm actually changing the name of the company. Okay. And so right now it's called Cash Flow Coach USA. It's changing to Financially Led. And so the tagline is, we help families and business owners be financially led through cash flow coaching. It's a guided system that has 3 steps to it. And here's where the lead comes in. Number 1, lift the burden from fixed debt payments. Is there a way for us to rearrange things so that you live the same lifestyle? It now costs you less. Step 2 is the E, expand your cash reserves. Because if you know you've got more money in the bank, you sleep better at night. If you have more, it's not that you actually have the more money in the bank, it's that you have access to more money in the bank. It's a distinct difference in terms of how I play this game. Now that we've freed up the cash flow, now that we have that larger nest egg, and or I call it an opportunity fund, now we get to part 3. Now you can deploy the extra money into other assets, because really the name of the game is, I don't think anyone wants to work forever. I haven't met many dentists that want to work forever. But can we deploy into other assets that will be able to replace our active income with passive income in some way, shape, or form? Basically, the money that we don't have to sit by a dental chair and there's still income coming in. So that's what the lead is. So the rest of it is, we maintain your lifestyle, keep more money each month, and then ultimately achieve your dreams faster.
I really like that lead and the 3 parts of it. I especially like hearing about the passive income piece, because as dentists, I think that that's a huge stressor when they need to take time off because a family member is sick, or one of their kids made it to the state tournament and they want to take the week off and enjoy that. Like, those are the things that, when we're not in the office producing, if we have that those things happening behind the scenes that probably takes a lot of stress off.
And even if we're not at that point that we're ready to deploy, just lowering the overhead by getting those fixed debt payments out of the way, that also is a stress relief. So I think of it as, you can jump over a 6-foot hurdle or you can jump over a 3-foot hurdle. Which one's going to be easier to do? And so for that dentist that we freed up $12,000 a month, his overhead went from nearly $70,000 a month to under 60. That's a big jump. Or that's a lot smaller jump to try and get over the hurdle. And he was already at just under a 50% profit margin. So like, we just flipped the script, and now every dollar that comes into that practice, more than 50 cents is staying for him. I mean, that's tremendous leverage. But if you were, if you had a higher overhead, if you're on the West Coast or in New York or something like that, where overhead could be closer to 75, 80%, if we can go from 75 to 65%, that's huge. Absolutely massive. So that's really the ultimate goal that I'm trying to do. And so that's on the business side. But once you improve the business, now there's more money. Now we play on the personal side. And now we've got the flywheel going in both areas. So that's really where the magic happens, is because we freed up money from the start, and now we can deploy that money elsewhere where it makes the next most sense.
I don't know how anybody listening to this couldn't be tempted to know more. Or I'm thinking like, wow, I want to know the secrets. And you're not going to give us the secrets, Howard, today. We're not going to twist your arm to give us the secrets. But do you have any practical tips or actionable steps that our listeners could take as their first step for how they could optimize their cash flow?
Yeah, well, I'll give you the secrets. I don't I don't make this some secret paywall. You got to pay me 20 grand to know that it's out there. I've done enough other podcasts. Sorry to inform you guys.
We're not first.
I've done enough other podcasts. I want people to be educated. Where the difference is that, think of like when you use a traditional financial advisor, they can give you the whole plan. You're asking for them to help you implement it. Okay. So I tell people up front, this is exactly what we're going to do. And they still can't believe it. And they're just like, you have to help me, because there's just no, even though you said exactly what we're going to do. And then they realize 3 to 4 months later, oh my God, this is exactly what you said we're going to do. They just needed someone to be able to guide them and hold their hand so that they don't screw this up. So the whole magic behind this is by utilizing lines of credit. Okay. And I'm just going to give the easiest example to think of as a credit card. You call up a bank, you get approved for $10,000. You purchase $3,000 of goods and services. At the due date, if you don't pay that $3,000 off, you still have $7,000 in the line. That's what I call the access to cash, or availability of cash. But once you pay the $3,000 off, now you have the full $10,000 available again. So this is a tool that money is flowing through, versus a mortgage. You put the money in, you make that payment to your mortgage, it's a titanium safe. You can't get the money back out. And do you find any irony in that a mortgage, and something that they use in finances is called an amortization table, has the same root word, M-O-R-T, as mortuary and mortician? The system is set up for you to make payments until you die, or you're going to die trying. But once you understand the power of a line of credit, that's the key to open the safe. And it's just using an open-ended tool to be able to manipulate how money is moving through your life. That's how this works. So if you're going to ask, what is the one action step that business owners should take? Call up your bank and say, I would like to get a business line of credit.
Mhm.
In terms of the size, it is getting a smidge harder just because of what's going on with the Fed and the government and the economy and all that. But as a good rule of thumb, you should be able to get 10% of your annual collections. So if it's a $2 million practice, you should be able to get about $200,000. Okay, that's just a simple rule of thumb. I've seen as high as 20% of collections. I've seen some banks tighten up right now down to 6 to 7%. But having that extra cash cushion cannot hurt you, because everyone is going to go through lean times. And it is not fun when all of a sudden you see your cash just dwindling away and you're like, what do I do? It's always better to prepare while things are good, try and get that in place, and then move forward.
A great tip.
Mm-hmm.
And then have you guide them.
Yeah.
That always helps.
Steps,
But
right?
Yeah. I mean, I was sharing with you guys offline. There was a dentist that I met a couple of weeks ago where I don't want to give the exact number, but I can help him free up over $20,000 a month from his business in payments in the next 60 days. I don't care how big the practice is. That's a lot of freaking money.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, that's a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I explain this, he's sitting there saying, I see it, but my head is just saying, there's no way he is right. There's no way he is right. Even though he's like, I'm seeing the numbers saying like, the numbers are the numbers. The brain just can't compute it because it's like, it just sounds too good to be true. It's not, it's just math. I'm not doing anything that's hocus pocus. I'm not telling you to stop avoiding your payments. We pay all the debts that we're supposed to. We just do it in a different fashion.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you have piqued my curiosity, and that is for sure. And like Karen said, I can't imagine anyone listening who wouldn't be extremely interested in finding out how they could do this and really change their life.
That's my ultimate goal. Is I wish I knew this 10 years ago. Just in terms of the speed of what can be done. The one other thing which I do have to share, because I said this is not hocus pocus, you have to have the cash flow. Okay. If your income is not greater than your expenses on a consistent basis, yes, there's going to be a negative month or two. Yes, the car is going to break down. You need a new roof. Your compressor goes down. You're going to buy a CEREC, whatever it is. So there are going to be a couple of negative months, but on a consistent basis, if it's not positive cash flow, this will not work, period. Okay. So we have to start with it's math. Mm-hmm. Once we get past the math, then we can see in terms of what is possible.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Oh, well, I think that this is something that we talk about very often, about unburdening some of the stress from the well-being of the clients that we work with. And I think that this fits in because this is a big stressor for, I would say everybody, really. I think everybody has moments where the financials stress them out. And so I think that what you're doing and really bringing this gift, especially to the profession that you are in and that you love, and it is a great thing. So tell us about the new website and how someone, if they're curious and want to just visit with you, how they do that and what that would look like.
Yeah, so the new website is being created. Hopefully it will be live once this is aired, but it will be financiallyled.com. But let me just give my old email address and my phone number. It's howard@cashflow, cashflowcoachusa.com. My phone number, this is my cell phone. There's no service, there's no nothing. It's me. It's 512-608-1020.
And I like how you said that there's no service, it's me. So if someone wants to talk to you, they're getting you, right?
Yep. It's would it be a blessing if I had a couple other people at some point? Yes, but this is still small and intimate enough that it's still just me, because I can never turn this into a high volume type of business. The reason being is that personal finance is personal.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something that, having enough clients now, there needs to be a lot of high touch, especially at the beginning, because this is so foreign to how you have been doing things. I mean, you're going down the road and I just hit you with a Mack truck. And so it is jarring. But again, if it's something that I see that it can be a massive impact to your life, you're going to know it. I'm just going to have that excitement in terms of, I know I can help you. Mm-hmm. And I will tell you, if this would be dangerous in your hands, I do not want you as a client. Mm-hmm. Because it's not in terms of trying to extract value. It's not in terms of trying to extract money from people. It's trying to add value for people. That's really what this is ultimately coming down to, is that if I know I can make an impact in someone's life, I'm going to be damn proud of how much of an impact I can create.
That's wonderful. What do you ever get that this is too good to be true? And
yeah, all the time.
Okay.
Yeah, I apologize. I keep going back to dentists. I do have a few other clients, but more often than not, they are dentists these days. And I've got one that it's wife's a dentist, dad's at home. They've got 20 years left on the house. She would love to be able to get out of dentistry. And I said, great, you can be debt free on your house in 7 months. And the immediate reaction is BS. And after 3 months of working together, they've cut their debt on their house in half. Mm. And now she sees it. Mm-hmm. Where it's like, oh my God, 7 months is realistic. Mm. I mean, it just saving 19 years of when does this house finally get paid off? Mm-hmm. But the beautiful part of this is that, one, we lifted the burden from the fixed payment. Okay. That is to the tune of about $2,000 a month today. But number two is, once they are debt free, or once they, let me rephrase this, once the house payment is at zero, they still have access to $500,000 of the value of the house. That's the cash reserves. It just so happens to be offsetting the debt of the house at the same time. So it's there just in case you need it. But if you don't need it, great, you have a $0 house payment.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Who wouldn't want that?
Right, exactly. But when we get to the final part, deploying the extra assets, whether it is into crypto, if that's what you're in, whether you want to just donate more to charity, whether you want to invest in other real estate, or the stock market goes down, it's like, now's a good time to invest. Where do you get the money from? You take it out of the house. Yes, there is an interest rate charge, but you can pay it back super fast. So it's not ready, aim, fire anymore. It's ready, then fire, and then reload. But you know that you can reload very, very quickly. And that's the switch. That's the switch. And it's just, you get it. It's one of those that we have to walk before we can run. What I just kind of shared, that's phase 2. Phase 1 is just get into the game, get the system going until you can finally see, like, oh, This is how it works. But you don't see it until it's with your own numbers, unfortunately.
Yep. That makes sense. And I love how you say that personal finance is personal. And so what a great resource you are. And so I would encourage everybody that is listening to reach out to Howard. Like you said, you will get him. And you have an ebook too, that if they're interested in. Do you have an ebook?
Yeah. The ebook kind of explains the 3 rules on why this works.
Okay.
And we'll have the link in the show notes there. But I think it'll end up being financiallyled.com/book.
Okay. Awesome. Yes, before we put this out, we will make sure that our show notes include all the correct links to the new website and all the information. So please reach out to Howard and just see what is possible for you. Thank you so much for being with us today. We adore what you're doing and how you're helping and how you're unburdening some of the stress from many people, but dentists in particular. So thanks so much for being with us today.
Well, I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for the time.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll see everybody on the next episode of the Mentor Podcast.